Cool.
Cool.
All right. We made it. Again. Episode 2.
Yeah.
And our guest,
Demi Dee.
how's it going?
Good. I'm excited to be here. It's such an honor being the first guest.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
no
pretty
pressure.
much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot to say. I appreciate it. I appreciate being here.
You got to
Thanks
set
for
the
coming,
standard.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's gonna be like, easy.
Yeah. So, you do a lot of stuff.
I do.
Music,
Yes.
clothing.
All kinds of things.
Where do you want to start?
I think when it comes to even just the amount of, I try to think of all the things I love in a way where it doesn't like even overwhelm me, because it probably overwhelms people when I tell them like I love to keep busy and keep my mind, my mental state just like going, and always on a project, even if it's going back to like one of the same projects that, you know, whether I didn't finish or I started and I'm like, you know what, I need to be authentic with myself and come back to this when, you know. So Demi Dee, I guess I'll start there. I relaunched her. She is a gently used clothing line that I actually relaunched August 2023, just recently, not too long ago. And I really enjoyed the idea of continuing it, even though I am a stay-at-home mom now and I have a 2.5-year-old. I really wanted to give people the opportunity to utilize Demi Dee as their resource, because that's where it was founded on, is being accessible and a resource to others and affordable. So I made that line into a mystery fashion box line. And that's a way that I can stay at home with my daughter, watch her, you know, have her be my full-time focus. But I love styling people. And I wanted that to be, like I said, accessible to people and not ever kind of, I wanted it to evolve. So I used to do like pop-ups, which I still do occasionally. And then I also used to do at home calls, and times have changed. It's a little safer doing it online. So I do it online now, but I love it. And I never ever assumed I would love to be taking away which I thought would take away that personability or being personable with my clients. I was like, that's not what I want. And I had a lot of like, you know, family and friends telling me like, you should relaunch it. You know, you should do it. And I was like, well, I have a daughter, like I said, that I take care of, Delilah Jacinto. But I was like, that's not safe, you know, to be driving around and like, whether it's like deliveries or picking up donations or whatever. I was like, I want to build that boundary of obviously making sure priority-wise she's safe. Yeah. But when people would bring up online, I'm like, you know, don't get me wrong. I love like online shopping's a great resource, and it's exactly that. It's accessible to other people that want to buy stuff online. But I also felt, like I said, it was going to kind of take away the being personable with my clients. And then it wasn't until I was getting some inspo from friends of mine who were like, hey, I actually think you should do something where you style people and have them not know what's in the box. Like, it sounded really weird at first. I was like, so they buy something, they don't know what they're buying. Like, it's kind of, you know, it was really like, in the best way, a really different idea of it. And the first few rounds, it was like family and friends. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, but I want you to open this in front of me. And I want you to be fully transparent. If you hate it, tell me, you know. And luckily, to this day, because it might happen, but to this day, I have, even with my family, friends, and then all my clients, I haven't ever had someone be like, I didn't like that. You know, can I try it? Yeah. And from here, I definitely want it to evolve more specific and, you know, only get even more personable. But what I love, is it's still a personable way that I can like style people. And I've even done a box recently that was like to my first couple out of state boxes, and I was like,
Nice.
wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Like that's so
that's
cool.
awesome.
So
Okay.
thank you. So yeah, I do that. And Demi at the I should probably preface with that. It is my first name Demi, but that means from me in Spanish, and at the means to you.
Okay.
So I
Cool.
kind of
Nice,
kept
yeah.
that even with it being online. I thought
Yeah.
that was like a fun way to tie it all back.
That's a great name for it. Like,
Yeah, that's good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Taylor branding. Is it like the whole process? They'll just message you like, I want to style myself for like an event, or like just casual wear.
Yeah. So basically, when anyone ever inquires on like purchasing a box, right now, I am trying to just make it as simple as possible. So when they DM me on Instagram saying like, hey, I want to inquire about a box, I send them a questionnaire, and I always say it's quick because it really is. It's like 5 questions. So they let me know. One of the questions is, what do you hope to be in the box? And that is something that in a good way, like they'll preface, they're like, hey, I want something for date night. I want something for an interview, and I want something that I can wear any day.
Cool.
And I love that because it's almost like a mental puzzle where I'm like, okay, cool. They said that they want something that they could wear any day, but they only really like more of like nudes and browns, and or sometimes in the best way, I'll let them know. I'm like, okay, I did put one thing in there, and I'll stuff. It's I want to say it's a 10. This could be totally off. I think it's like a 10 by 13 by 7 box.
Okay.
But I stuff it and I roll everything. Everything's individually wrapped in tissue paper. So it's almost like you're just opening up all these different
presents.
gifts.
Christmas gifts.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I wanted it to be like, what would have like if someone sent me this box, how would I want it? And I'm just, I try to always, for one, make sure everything's sustainable. But for two, I really want to also make sure it's an experience. Even if you're opening this up, after a long day's work, I want it to be something where they're like, I've been looking for
My box is going to get here today. I got to get home.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
I want it to be something that they actually are like, whoa, that made me just fully appreciate everything. And also, when I do, when I do put something in there that's a little bit out of their comfort zone, it's not like a ha ha ha, like I'm going to go against, but it's almost like, just try it on.
If you push the boundary just a little
just
bit.
do
like,
it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I haven't had anyone be like, ooh,
That's cool.
I didn't like that.
That might even give them confidence. Like maybe they were afraid to ask you, like, I want to try this style, but like because you sent it to me, like I'm gonna do it. Like
Thank
so
you.
yeah. That's really cool.
I hope for that. And I started the brand because it was something. So I started in 2014. So I was 2 years out of high school, and I just realized I was 2 years in the real world, and I was like, oh, I need to like have outfits for interviews. Like it needs to be something where I'm not just comfortable. Hey, you can if you're confident though. Like that was the thing. It was like that barrier in between. Okay, I may not have. I have clothes, but they're not making me feel like, for one, I'm definitely going to get this job. Or they didn't give me, me personally speaking, like they didn't give me the confidence behind it of being like, hey, like I really want to be able to wear this and it be almost, not even like my problem, in the sense of like, hey, I'm being confident, I'm giving my best. And if I'm not the best pick for this job, that's totally fine. Yeah. But at least let me come forward with my best. Yeah. And so that's what I want everyone to have, that resource. Because it was really a situation that I carry with me that's close to me, is like, imagine, you have every bit of like aspiration and passion and everything, but even when it comes to tangible tools, you don't have those tools. Yeah. It's like, a painter without a paintbrush. It's like you have everything. You have the hardest part. Yeah. The ambition, the passion, and all you need is literally the tools. Like, so that's the way I see them, Yati. It's like a way that I can give people those resources to right now I have one size of the boxes. It's called a mini box because you will look at it and be like, there's no way there's like more than 2 things in here. But I stuff it to the brim. Boom, yeah. I will like get every bit of my weight, and I will like get the tape, and I'll make sure, and obviously they're not like fragile, so it's fine if I do that. But I'll make sure that, I like tape it shut with it being packed full to the brim. And be able to offer that to people is like really, really awesome to have all the boxes under $20. So they're $19. And even, because they are gently used, and some of them even some of them are brand new pieces, and the majority of it is gently used. But the way I see the inventory is like, if I hold it up and I'm like, ooh, like, I don't know, if it gives me a certain feeling of like someone's gonna love to wear this, that'll like classify it. So there's no, I used to go to like consignment shops and way before the Miati, and I'd be like, okay, these are like one of my favorite pieces. I've outgrown them or whatever the case was. And they'd be like, oh, we're actually looking for fall fashion, just sweaters and leggings or like whatever. And I'm like, but how could you classify style or fashion with like a couple different
just
items?
A name and like a section, like
So I don't follow like trends per se. I would say like whatever just makes you feel good.
Cool. And like, do you pull that like based off the questions you ask them?
Oh yes,
like,
yeah.
You know
So the
Like,
questionnaire, absolutely,
cool.
Absolutely. So when they tell me what it's for, their sizes, I love when as much as they may think like, oh no, I probably gave too long of an answer. I love it.
Oh no, the more information you give me,
yes, yeah. And it's something fun that they're doing that is like, they know it's like they're buying a gift for themselves because it's something they don't know what they're going to get.
Yeah.
But it's still what they picked out. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's how it is for like the logo design process. Like the more information you give me, the more like give me parameters so I can play in this box.
Yeah.
I'll know where I can like bend the rules and like fun stuff to play with, and like where I can like, let's try and get experimental just this far.
Let your
without going too
creativity
far.
free.
Yeah. Because what I hate the most is the like I'll know it when I see it. Kind of logo design. I'm like, oh. Like, all right, let's try and define this a little bit more. Let me ask you some more questions and get more information. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because when I would do pop-ups before I relaunched and did the mystery box theme, I would go vending and I would realize that I'm this way too. So I totally understand it. But as they're looking at these things on the hangers, they're like, I don't know. And it takes... I don't know if it is like confidence, but it takes almost a little bit of reassurance of, it's almost like a friend of yours being like, oh, dude, this will look good on you. And that's what I consider. I mean, I'm not like, I definitely don't know everything about fashion whatsoever, but I think it is a form of expressing yourself, like you said, and being able to operate comfortably and like just how you want. You create your own like rules with it, but I think it's supposed to be fun. So thinking too hard at something on a hanger, even for me, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if someone gave that to me, or if I bought a mystery box themed where I didn't know what was going to happen, I'm like, it's already in the box. Let me just try it on.
Mystery box, exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna gamble in the suit today and see what happens. Like,
and
that's
then
cool.
it's game over, and it's like, oh, actually, I really like that. Yeah.
This was a good day. I feel confident in this.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
Change your life.
Yeah.
I hope I have that like effect on people. People are like, chill, girl. It was only a mystery box.
No, that's good though. Like, you're very
I
passionate.
spent $19 on that.
You never know.
I hope. Yeah, I really do hope.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Could be enough just to change someone's attitude. Like, yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, and then into music. Yeah, music is another part of me. I try to, like I say, classify my passions kind of in a, I don't know. I mean, especially in this day and age with having a 2.5-year-old, I really try to tell myself that I can always expand deeper and deeper and deeper in my passions. And that's like a whole rabbit hole within itself. But I do want to be able to focus on like the main ones. So music is another that has always, always been a part of my life. So yeah, I started singing so my parents say I started singing when I was 3. And I'm like, I totally believe it. But prior to having a daughter, I was like, did I really sing at 3? My daughter loves to sing.
Nice.
She loves it. And it wasn't until her where I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it. Like you're like, it's so amazing how at such a young age, like people, she is her own person now. So she's able to explore all her own passions. And I guess, I totally believe them now. Like I started when I was 3. But I started performing in public at 4. And I started singing like Motown, R&B, and Tejano music primarily. And I had a lot of fun kind of navigating, like understanding my culture as a Tejana, but also kind of realizing that, I heavily focused on those genres for so long, and I still have so much love for them. But it was really interesting at like 12, I was like, oh, like I can write my own music?
Yeah.
That's a
Hold
thing?
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I write poetry and stuff when I was like 7 and stuff, and at a young age, but actually a full like start to finish song, I was like around like 11 or 12.
That's
and
cool.
It really opened my eyes to not classify me in one genre, because if I have passion for more than one, I'm not going to like isolate myself in one box.
Pigeonhole.
Yeah, pigeonholing, yeah.
You mentioned slam poetry is something you incorporated.
Yes.
Thank
you.
How did that come about?
I had a friend who is still a dear friend of mine, Tilton, and her husband now, Nathan, and both of their last names is Zertuche, beautiful name. But they totally like, I don't know, life just works in amazing ways, and they were both so heavily there for me when I needed like friends the most in life. And I was going through a lot of different things personally, in my personal life. And also, like I said, like after high school, I was like, whoa, so lost, just didn't know what I was doing. And they welcomed me in their apartment all the time. I mean, they would always tell me, they're like, if you just want to drop by, we lived one apartment complex over. So it was cool. Like, I lived in
Literally just, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd just walk over sometimes with some pizza, and I'm like, hey guys, want to chill? And they never were like, dude, stop coming over. Like they always were like, yes, come on in. Like they were just so sweet. And I had, like I said, I had wrote poetry before, but I had never heard of slam poetry. And we would actually have poetry nights. And this is prior to them. They are still to this day slam poets. But prior to them pressuring or like making me feel like less than for not knowing slam poetry, these poetry nights were like amazing. They were actually life-changing. I was able to really put down on paper what I was feeling, what I was going through, and with a no judgment zone, it was really freeing. And I had, like I said, poetry and songs, and sometimes I would just write, and I never really classified as anything particular, but ended up later on finding out like, oh, I've been kind of writing slam poetry. And it kind of, I classify it when I feel it and I hear it as just, it's a very, very, very just strong, powerful, empowering outlet to express your poetry. And once you hear it, you're like, oh, I get it. It's rhythmic and it's passionate. And like I said, it's just a very beautiful language. And as someone who, for the longest time, like just recently, am I realizing how to express myself through words, and especially teaching my daughter like Spanish and English. I'm like, I have to actually understand how to express myself to allow her to learn how to express herself. But prior to that, it was just like poetry that I would write. And like I said, these poetry nights that they would just invite me over for at their house, they ended up like showing me that they were in these slam poetry competitions. Whoa. And I was already into like flowing, and like I never considered myself a rapper, but I thought, wow, how freeing is that to be able to write music without writing it down.
Yeah.
And not overthinking it. And again, it has to be like a no judgment free zone for it to be fun.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
They would give me prompts. And so they would say, okay, let's write a slam poem about just something that happened today. And sometimes it would be like real deep. It's like, write one about your younger self or something like that, very deep. Another one's like, write one about the hot Cheeto you just ate. Like cool. And it made me think. It was, it's like flowing, but not, because you're writing it down, but it's still like off the dome. You're just like, okay. And they have been doing competitions for the longest time. And they just really introduced me to that realm at 18. And from then on, I was so captivated by how powerful that outlet was. And I started embedding slam poetry within my music.
Oh, cool.
And again, like I said, I still don't consider myself a rapper. But at first, I kind of would do that prior to knowing what slam poetry was. And like, come to find out, to me, I classify it as slam poetry. So I still this day have those songs I've written or new songs I'm writing where it kind of just is like more of less melodic and a little bit more, I don't know, bounce between talking and singing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it right there. It's the slam poetry. So they showed me it. And I really thank them for it because it really gave me the opportunity to be more self-aware of what the meanings were behind my songs.
Cool.
And yeah, it gave more oomph to it.
Yeah, definitely. It just really
Form of
comes from
therapy
somewhere.
almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, yes.
I mean, that's cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Reminds me of the band Idols. I don't know if you listen to them.
Ooh,
But they
no,
do
I
like
do.
electronic kind of stuff. I know they say a lot that they're not punk, which is funny. But they do like little talking bits. I think he does. I saw an interview. He like just writes stuff like whatever listens like goes with the track, and then it's like that's what we're gonna run with. And like,
That's it right there.
whoa, that's gotta be crazy. That's gotta be fun to do. Just to like, done, go.
Yes.
Like I'm there like trying to draw like, okay, this line needs to be perfect. Like,
That's
no, do it again.
The
Like,
overthinking of it all.
yeah.
Yes. And that's what stops us sometimes. I have a song that I wrote like when I first started writing slam poetry, and it's called Can We Make Love? And it's about being able to make these like personal connections. And I was, like I said, I was going through a lot at that age, about 18. And I just remember I was at Northwest Vista and community college, and I'm like going through the hallway and I see either like just new faces I've never seen before, people I haven't met yet, but I was walking through the hallways, and at this point it was already starting to be so prevalent of technology that everyone was just ignoring eye contact.
Oh yeah.
And it really made it like I couldn't handle it. And it wasn't like I wanted to like go on like 2-hour conversations with them, but I just a simple like what we were saying earlier, just like a simple like, hey, what's
Hey,
up?
it's going, yeah.
Like that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were kind of losing that. And I felt lost because even though I haven't always been able to like verbalize like everything, how I'm feeling or different things, I still felt as though the one thing that I did have was having that camaraderie, whether it was like with like my classmates or just in general. I felt like we need that personal connection. Like we
yeah.
can't lose that. And I felt like it was I don't know. I took it personal. And so I had wrote that song, and that was like my first like slam poetry song that I wrote, and being able to express, you know, that I enjoyed being able to have the opportunity to be in the moment with people and actually talk. And I still take that song. I'm not as like I sound really against technology in that song, and I was like off the grid. I wasn't like on social media or anything anymore at that point in time. So I was very much like, oh man, the world's out to get me, like, you know. And everyone goes through that, I think
so, yeah.
you know, at one point. And I was in that era of my life, and I just felt like it was so important to say it. And I kind of again, I just felt very like the world was out to get me. And so I felt like, oh, I'm going to try to get gigs and perform. And people that appreciated or understood the idea of slam poetry more than happily let me in like to perform. Imagine Booking Records.
Oh, cool.
Oh my gosh. That was like the first ever of its kind bookstore that allowed me to express myself. Music I had wrote that day, I performed there.
Nice.
And it was like, oh man, like I just loved that outlet. But but then I thought, talking to my close friends, I was like, I would love to perform at this place. And then I think about my set and I'm like, girl, you are talking ish. Like you are not like talking about things that people want to talk about when they're eating their dinner. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like they need to like prepare themselves for it. It's like a whole thing. It's a whole experience. So anyways, I ended up with my album that I was able to finally put forth into reality. I released an album.
All self-produced, right? Like just recorded everything. Did all?
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
the way to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I learned so much. We were talking
Yeah.
about like technical, difficult. No,
Yeah.
I had it all, name it, and I had that during the album. I finally had made music where I felt like it was a little bit like a good introduction of like me as an artist, but not so in your face where you're like, oh, that girl's intense. Because it brings, the slam poetry brings out your,
like,
yeah, it brings out the most intense version of yourself, which I love. And that's why I say it's so empowering to listen to and also to write. But yeah, I actually had wrote some songs like that felt like, wow, stuff that you could dance to, which was the first of its kind. Cool. Like I had never wrote like music that could move people in that way. And like nice. I felt like I always had the takeaway where they're like, whoa, like I never thought about it like that with like some poetry, but in the best way. I've got like the most like opposite where I'm like, girl, that was a good song.
That's
like
cool.
You know, and it was nice to be able to like write that and have different genres within that album. Yeah. But I did put a lot of in the best way, a lot of the songs that were in the vault for a while, I did put those on the album too. And they're completely evolved versions of themselves. And I felt very like content with the mix of genres within the album. So
how many songs do you have in the vault?
Is
it just riffs and like just like voice memos?
I love how you say that because it is. I would say full songs. I would say.
Even then, they're not done yet. Like, yeah, right.
They're not done yet. Yeah. No, that's exactly what's going on. Is kind of like, oh, well, we could do this and we could do that, and trying to really think about that number. I feel like it is probably close to maybe it's for sure under 50.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, it's because I remember like I was in other bands and stuff, and the guitar players like I got a whole library of just riffs and songs that we're just like sitting on, and none of these are done, but. You know, we got these 1, 3. And then what's good, though, is you have all that stuff to play with and go back to. You can just pick and pull little parts. Like, I like this for this one. And then you got, like, a solid 3 to 5. And, like, good EPs ready to go. Like, send it. Like, yeah.
Out of all of those, it's more so, like, some of them I have that it's really weird to think about. But, you know, even though they're not tangible objects, I'm like, I'm not ready to let go of this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't delete it.
She's not ready yet. Yeah. I kind of, I don't know. There's what really drove me to make the album, and I'll be so like transparent with this, was I was thinking about, okay, if something were to happen to me, I want my daughter to be able to have this like music out there.
For sure.
I want her to like have just a catalog of different things that I've sang about, or my songs, but also topics I've talked about. And it wasn't until she was about 6 months old, and I was like, I'm holding her for her nap. When they're that little, they will like, if they're already in that environment for throughout their upbringing, they will stay asleep, and I have my headphones in, like the loudest part is me singing. So I was like, I'm just going to do it all in GarageBand. I have that resource. I'm already holding her and she's content. So fine, like all throughout the album, there's maybe one song where she wasn't in my arms while I recorded, cool. Nice. But all songs. Yeah. And she really... There's little Easter eggs of her throughout the album. Oh, cool. And I can't take that out.
No, those are little things little sprinkled in. Like,
like
perfect.
They don't make sense probably to someone else, but I'm like, this is like the finishing touch.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And so she was my motive, most definitely. I had a lot of encouragement from like my family members, and I think it's different when someone tells you, oh, that's such a good idea, you should totally do it, and you have that support is different than like going through kind of the depth of thoughts and being like, okay, how much does this mean to me to put it out, you know, and being able to realize like it really does come down to yourself being your biggest supporter. Yep. And once you are your biggest supporter of whatever project you're doing, then you're like, I believe in this and I want to do it, and now I'm going to do it, you know? And so it's not that I didn't have the support. Thankfully, I could say I did have family and friend support. But it was most certainly a big, like, okay, I believe in myself now, finally. Yeah. And I had been messing with GarageBand for so long, but it really wasn't anywhere near confidence level or comfortability with working with it. And then finally I got to the point where I was like, we're just going to find out. We're going to learn from this. And
going to jump. Like, okay.
And it's called First Album for a reason. So I'm like, the next album will be a little bit cleaner. And
it's a progress. You get better and better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's kind of... I don't know if you ever saw another podcast we used to do called Cover Stories. Oh, no. It was my friend Eric was the host, and we'd bring on bands to do cover songs, essentially. And like they would do an interview like an hour long, like talking your history, like why'd you pick this song, different stuff. But when we first started that, it was the same thing. I was like, I just had my laptop and like a couple microphones I kind of plugged in, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. We'll figure it out. And like the first few episodes sound like shit. All right, I'll admit it.
That's beautiful.
But
though.
I mean, there's not the band's fault.
It's authentic though.
Yeah.
The fact that you allowed yourself to work with what you had. That's my favorite thing that's got me through a lot of my projects is like, work with what you got. Like, stop making, for me personally, I'm just like, stop making excuses. Like, I'm the best at making excuses.
Same,
so I'm like, I don't mean to flex. But
It's just a creative thing, right? It's like we all share that.
I think so.
Yeah. So it's not until I got kind of fed up with that, of being more grounded, of realizing, you know, there's so many like projects and artists that have worked with what they had and ended up being the most pure sounding, authentic, whether it was like songs, projects, just in general, you can feel the love behind the production.
Yeah. It's like, I kind of love the demo version than the studio version. Like, oh man, like
Yes.
it's crazy.
Yes. Speaking of that song, Can We Make Love? I have it on Spotify, and I will never be able to recreate how I sang it that day.
Oh, cool.
And you can even hear like the paper turning because I didn't memorize it yet. And it's still like in my mind, it's my best version.
That adds to the story of it. Like, yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Thank you. So I'm like, wow, I'll never get to sing it that way, but I mean my words. Like, I swear, I won't sound like that again. But it was authentic. So
that's awesome. Yeah, if you can capture that, that's totally cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that kind of just aspect of little imperfections, like in things, like in albums. Because it's like, I mean, a lot of music now, like you see professionally produced is like very clinical, just like they're making like
these cuts,
syncing
clean,
everything. Yeah, all the drums are like on not necessarily a click track, but like automated even. I don't know, it's just like give some like human emotion, like some feeling to it. Like, oh, you bumped the mic stand.
Makes it organic, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
It's fun. That's like an aspect of it.
I feel that way. I feel more connected to those projects, like you said. Like it makes it more personable, of like, it almost sounds like a friend calling and being like, hey, you want to hear this new song I wrote? Like, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, that means more to me than anything. I really try to also implement that in my daily routine of, you know, I give myself grace with certain things that before I would have been like, come on, like you had this time, you could have done that. But I also feel like it's so important to prevent burnout. So there's times, like you said, with like the songs in the vault, I feel it is that much more important if you feel like, you know what, I'm just going to put this song right here for now and I'll come back to it when I'm ready. Those are the songs that I like have on the album because I felt ready and authentically involved in it and didn't feel like I needed to finish it or else, you know, it was just more of like an incentive for myself of, wow, I already laid down the groundwork for it. Cool. Now I could just throw in some vocals.
I can come back to it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
When I'm back, I think it's called like I've heard people talk about like a flow state. Like I'm in a flow state of creativity, so I'm going to work on this right now. I'm trying to recognize that too. Like, okay, I've drawn enough of this like logo or this character or whatever. I'm going to put it away because I'm kind of burnt out right now. And then I'll come back to the next day and like, okay, cool. Clean it up here and there and like see things like with fresh eyes essentially, or fresh ears, I guess, for like music.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
I'll be so hard on myself and I'm like, man, maybe the next time I record this, I'll go back and listen. And I'm like, I have to kind of think of it this way of being like, even though that was maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, I'm like, that was my younger self. I got to love on her more. Yeah. Like, that was a good job.
That was good,
that wasn't that bad. Like,
you're not supposed to be a professional there. Like, it's cool.
Yes.
Like,
the imperfections of it all. And I find, oh my gosh, that's why I love live music so much because even the most rehearsed band sets, I feel are still just so beautifully it's almost like a part of you wants to think that it's like thrown together, like they're just magically able to sing like that and not think of the BTS. But it's like, no, they had a lot of energy that was put into it. But I do find that, it's really important to connect and have that connection. And I feel like live performances, I'm always left with chills and I feel like I know that person now. So, and other things too. I'm a big fan of like watching YouTube, and I think I've strayed away from cable TV for so long that's like my form of content is now being like, oh, cool. Like they're working on this project or they're doing this. Oh no, like something happened to them. And I don't know. I guess it is kind of like silly sounding, but I'm like, oh, Nessa, like I got you, girl. Like I'm like feeling like a connection. Like,
that vulnerability.
Like her, she's like, oh guys, like, come on. I need help with this idea. I'm like, okay, Nessa,
that's cool. It's a sense of community. I mean, what we're trying to do, I think just, goes back to that, like being able to connect with people, and it's cool that technology's done that where you can just share it live and like, hey guys, what do y'all think? Like,
that's
good feedback.
The gems of See, and this is the part of technology where I felt very distant from because I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So when I was like, between 18 and 20, I just felt like, oh, no, technology's out to get us, guys. Like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for technology.
Run. Yeah.
Right.
But we have to find the silver lining. And that's why I named the album Brighter Days, because I felt like if you if you are submerging yourself to negativity and you feed yourself that, and then I even had a point in time where I was like, okay, I need to just distance myself from music a little bit. And I'm not talking like just me creating it. I was in the car driving to work every day and night, every shift, and I wouldn't even turn on the radio. And I was thinking like, oh, it's good for my creativity and this and that. Those were my least creative days, and thinking back. But I do find that it's so important to be able to find the silver lining and realize you are going to get out of that rut. And especially if you're not giving yourself the opportunity to know that's in this future, then you are going to feel like it's not going to happen. But I got out of that rut, and it was all due to the healing of being able to, I'm not going to say it was just music alone, but that was such a big part because at that point I felt like I wasn't able to relate to anything. And that was my way of navigating, oh, you also felt this way? Yeah. And people were like, I love how you sang about that because I felt that way too. And that built a little bit of a community too. Of like, oh,
I'm not alone in this. Like, that's huge.
That's the worst feeling is to feel like you're alone. Absolutely. Like, so I'm very thankful to that album and that process too.
That's cool.
Speaking of YouTube, you recently uploaded the NPR, the Tiny Desk performance.
Yes. Oh, cool. Oh my gosh.
That was really cool.
Thank you. I find that it's so important to not miss out on certain opportunities for yourself. And I guess there are some forms of competition. Even I was talking about like slam poetry competitions. There are some points where you're like, ooh, well, would you really want to make that competition? I'm like, yeah, because it actually gives you a little bit of extra motive to be your best. And if there's anything that can help you be your best, I feel like it's almost always going to be a winner of, so we practiced that song. I haven't released it yet. And it's one of those that have been in the vault for a while. And it's called Lending. And it is a song I wrote about being pretty exhausted. It was in a timeline, like I was telling y'all earlier. So I used to have a podcast, Passion Reflex, and I was working like a 40-hour work week and doing the podcast on my lunch breaks. I had an hour lunch break. So it was actually really cool that I was able to do something like that in that meantime. But I felt like losing my voice and other jobs that I've had to where it was really vocal, not being able to sing after my work shift because I genuinely didn't have the ability to after talking all day. And I just felt very exhausted with even though it could be good energy, you could still feel drained. And you need to like remind yourself that your feelings are validated. And even though, my grandma was on hospice for months on end at one point in time. But she also reminded me during that time frame that, like, I guess kind of veering off topic, but on topic, she gave me the peace with knowing that I didn't, even though I was like there to take care of her, she's like, let's, we had watched Trolls, right? And it was just on TV. It was at her house. She was on hospice at her house, and we were watching Trolls, and I'm like, this is a good movie. And I felt so, I felt almost like I could, after working 6 days, Monday through Saturday, and I was off that one day, Sunday, and I dedicated those days to taking care of her. I felt as though not only do I owe that to her after her, like, doing everything she has done for me, but I also feel like I was like another work shift. It's like, okay, I'm here. Yeah. Do you need water? Do you need this? Do you need that? And one of these days, she had just told me, she goes, well, let's just watch a movie. Aww. And I'm like, are you sure? And I'm thinking, like, I was always down with watching whatever she wanted to watch. Yeah. And so she just like was flipping channels and saw the Trolls movie on, and I was like, oh, this is funny. She had only known Spanish and knew a good amount of English to get by like listening. She couldn't really speak too much English, but she understood enough. And that movie cracked her up. Like she
that's
loved
awesome.
that movie. And I just remember that was the first time where I was like, oh, I was able to relax. Like, and it was at least 6 months that she was on hospice. And I was going through working 7 days a week technically, right? But anyways, I ended up writing that song during that time frame of just being very like almost like I don't deserve to be tired. Like I'm taking care of my grandma just because it's Sunday and I've worked all week. Like I don't deserve that to feel like I'm tired. Like it's a pleasure. It's an honor being with her. And then my now husband, Josh, he was telling me then he would go with me. He was so sweet. He would go with me and when I would go over there to her house on Sundays, and he would tell me, "You worked all week. You deserve to say it that you're tired. It's okay."
It's okay.
And I would clock back in Monday, and I just for a long time I didn't give myself that validation. So it's just a song about that, about just remembering that even if it is good energy you're putting out there in the universe, it's beautiful to know that we do not own energy, and it's something that's constantly taking and giving and taking and giving, and it's just lended. Like that's it. Yeah. We have no ownership of energy. So I learned that life lesson during that time frame, and I wrote that song. And then my brother has been performing with me since I started performing in public since I was 4. So he was my guitarist on that song, and being able to take the song from point A to point Z from where he took it, and my our really good friend Andrew, he was on drums. He also just took it there where I was like, oh, that's the same song. Like, wow. So I don't even own that song. I feel like it's theirs too. I'm like, even though I wrote the lyrics, that was such a big project that I also needed because, like I said, just feeling like you when you're giving your best, you're also filling up your cup and you're putting back that validation of like not imposter syndrome, being like, I'm the happiest stay-at-home mom, but I'm also a singer and I'm also, I love to style people. So just trying to capture all that. I try to do it like 1 month. I'll really, really focus on technological or social media wise. I'll try to be like, okay, focus on singing this month. Next month, focus on this. And I have to do it that way. That way I cannot like drive myself crazy.
Avoid burnout, because if you try to wear all the hats in 1 month, like
and I owe my daughter the best like childhood. So I make sure, okay, during your nap time, I pump everything out in a form that's not burnout. And I try to like the project or whatever, the posts that I'm working on, save draft. When she wakes up, save draft. I can post it tomorrow. And it's really hard, but I've tried to like control my anxiety because that is the worst, is having anxiety sometimes and you're just feel like you're running out of time, like we got time.
I've been telling myself like the world's still spinning.
Absolutely.
I can save the draft and it's going to be okay.
It'll be okay.
And I close the laptop, like, okay. Yep, let me go enjoy myself. Let me give myself that validation. Like
it's a perfect affirmation. It will be okay.
Okay, like it's nuts.
Hell yeah. Till one day you close a laptop and it's just everything just goes downhill.
It's making a hissing sound. Like what? Why? Like I don't know.
That's my fear. Oh my gosh, guys! I have so many external hard drives of like my daughter's pictures, and I have like too many photos on my phone, and I'm like, I can't delete them. Even if I print them out, I can't. And so I just have that fear. So yeah, I'm working on that.
I'm gonna do something with these. Yeah, exactly. I just don't know what yet.
They're all of her like finger in the way. Like it's not anything, but they still mean so much to me. So they're still so important.
It's a personal aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do like a VR thing where you can view all the pictures and like I don't know, some sort of gallery.
Yeah,
that's what it'll be for. Yeah,
that's what it'll be.
That'd be cool.
I remember, I don't know where we were exactly, but I remember playing downtown with you and your brother. I don't even know how old we were. I was probably 15 or 16 at the time. I don't even know.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could bring this up. I'm so happy you brought that up. So I had the pleasure of having you as a part of our sets at Fanfare. I don't know if you guys have heard of Fanfare. Well, I mean, you were part of it, but I'm like, you probably didn't know where you were performing. So Fanfare is a very heavily Tejano genre-based event. And it's basically, the way I like to describe it is it's like South by Southwest, but for Tejano. So people all over the world will come to Market Square and they will, every corner, they make, in the best way, they make a stage out of like cement platform here, and there's so much opportunity. And it's one of those things like being able to give those people, whether they're local or out of state or out of the country sometimes, that opportunity to submerge themselves in such a celebration of Tejano music. And if you talk to anyone in the Tejano industry, that is one of like their like most favorite times of the year, is being able to dedicate. It is, like I said, like South by Southwest. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's an all-day festival. I mean, bands are going on at like 12 a.m. Like it's an all-day thing. So I remember we had, my brother and I, Justin, we had a good like set that was rehearsal-wise pretty solid, but we needed like that extra component. And we all have always felt this way, where, you know, it is a beautiful experience with working with someone musically. And I'm sure you guys know, working in music, it is such like an intimate, like it's so sacred. So we had a few people. There used to be, before social media, it was called the Tejano Journal. And it was a platform, a forum where they would be able to, everyone had like little code names, and they'd be able to like ask each other like, hey guys, like who's performing at fanfare, or just whatever. It was a really great outlet.
Yeah.
But there was a few ads or a few different people that were looking for musicians to perform with them for fanfare. And although that was an outlet that we had, we just didn't have the urge to be creating music with someone that like maybe we didn't necessarily have that chemistry with. Yeah. And my brother had performed or had jammed out with you before, and he had that chemistry with you, knowingly that you played drums. And I remember coming to your house and being able to also, for the first time ever, actually being able to hear the songs, even though they weren't mine, still hearing songs I was performing transformed and brought to life with a full band. Like,
totally different.
So many people be like probably underestimating the power of a guitar player, a singer, and a drummer, but it is transformational. It is such a beautiful experience. And I felt like so empowered being able to perform with like a live band. So thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm glad.
Do you even, and I don't even mean this to be insulting, but do you remember what songs we performed?
Oh no, absolutely not.
I only know because this song list is engraved in my brain. One of them had to have been like Michelle Branch, like Game of Love.
That sounds right.
No, cool.
But we hit you with some Tejano ones too. Yeah. And I know, like, in the best way, it was probably, I'm assuming maybe like your first time performing Tejano music.
Oh, yeah. Almost certainly. Yeah.
It was so cool. I really enjoyed, it was so fun. Like, that was the first time I ever had performed fanfare with the band. So I appreciate that experience. It was really, really fun.
And then how old were y'all? You said 15, 16?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I was in middle school.
High school, middle school
At
performing?
the oldest, I was in middle school. So I was probably, I'm 30 now, and I was probably 11 or 12.
That's cool.
So I mean, I think, I was probably 15.
Wow.
I think your brother's, a year older than me.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That y'all got to perform at like such a young age and like check that off your box. Like first performance, here's done.
Yeah.
And then that the community provided that, area for y'all to perform as well, and provided that opportunity for young artists to come and like, hey, get your feet wet and come and try it out.
Yeah. My parents had been extremely supportive of us being in the Tejano industry and in music in general, but I say Tejano industry because it was and it is still very rare for young artists to perform that genre. And it's very scary to people who sing Tejano to be like, ooh, this like genre is like not always happening. Yeah. And it's scary because to them, they're like, it needs to stay alive. And I totally, totally get that. But I think technology, back to social media, is really almost like reviving everything. I was at Period Palooza yesterday at Blue Star, beautiful event. But there was these young, definitely like maybe middle school age. I I hate saying kids. I'm like, am I at that age? Yeah, I'm at that age. Kids.
Yeah.
And they're singing Selena and they're singing these songs that they were singing. And I'm thinking in my head, as I'm seeing them sing it, I'm like, okay, checklist. Okay, is it family members that played Selena? Is it growing up in San Antonio? Like, what is it? And then I remembered, oh, wait, there's so many covers going on with like reels, with shorts of artists that are younger than me. And they're reinventing the gratitude for these songs. Yeah. And it's the same thing with when I hear like the sounds, the audio files on Instagram. It's, you know, they're having like Amor Eterno and all of these really beautiful songs, Spanish songs that have so much meaning behind them. And to hear these vocalists or even like guitarists take it where they take it, I think is just like reviving all of that. And so I feel like there's no need to fear that genre will ever go anywhere, because I think it's just with social media, you're able to actually see it and you're able to see like, oh no, there's so many places that people take it to where they're making those songs a little bit more jazz, a little bit more R&B, but to me that's so beautiful. Like I've never had anyone cover my music, and the day it happens, hopefully. Yeah. The day it happens, I'm gonna be like, girl or boy, like whoever. I'm like, yes, like that's what it is. That's what keeps it alive.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like the just like the blending of genres and like progressing in different directions. It doesn't necessarily like take away from the thing that it started as.
Absolutely not.
I just watched a clip. What's his name? John Batiste.
Oh yeah.
Piano player. He's like, it's an interview or something. He's talking to some guy. He's sitting by a piano and he's like, can you do like Beethoven in like a different style? And he just has like a jazzy Beethoven thing. It's so cool.
It's beautiful.
Gotta check that one out.
And it's almost different areas of your brain that you feel like just watching him that you're tuning into. Even though you're not doing it, you're like, I didn't even know that could happen. Like the crossover.
Yeah, just opens like a little part of your brain. You're like, oh. Yes. You can do that?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, like with music in general, like when I went through that like dry spell of not listening to music, it might have been like a year where I did this to myself. Like, and I probably did need it a little bit, but definitely not for that long. And then come to realize, you know, in the best way, all these articles and different things saying, oh no, like when you listen to new music, you are being able to like stimulate your brain and have, you're able to be more creative because of it, because it's allowing it to connect all these different, you know, send signals to different places in your brain. Yeah. So I believe that.
I'm big on diverse music interests. Yeah. I listen to a lot of random stuff all over the place.
I love, like, I'm like, every time you post, I know you see me, but I'm just like, every time I'm like, I need to see, because it's like a mystery box. You never know what you're going to get.
Well, there we go.
I love it. You know, it really makes me like so appreciative of a creative like yourselves, because it allows even when I'm living vicariously, seeing so I live on like the outskirts of San Antonio, not too far away, but with having a 2.5-year-old and then like living about 35-40 minutes away, like I'm not always able to make it events. So when you guys are able to like hit up the local businesses and go and like pass out not only the information, but also like, it's not too early to say this, but passing like even like the interaction and like the legacy you guys are starting is like so beautiful. And so I wish I could make it to every event. Like the two window, is that the two window? I'm like, I don't want to butcher the name. Yeah, I was like, oh, I can't make it. It's okay. I'll make it to the next one. But yeah, that's so beautiful to be able to have you guys as creatives to also put yourself out there yourselves as well and support others. Yeah. And like I said, I never know in the best way. When I tap your story, I'm like, oh, I love it.
See where this goes.
I have to like almost limit. I can't like every single post, guys. Yeah. Like he's gonna be like, you're blowing up my phone. But sometimes I do. Yeah, cool. I'm like, he posted it for a reason. Yeah.
You can like it for a reason. It's an option, right?
Exactly.
And block.
I realized after the podcast, you have been blocked. I genuinely feel so grateful for y'all. Seriously.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah, thanks. I mean,
we're just
it's been fun so far, yeah. And you're in the most recent issue 6. One of your poems is in there.
Thank you so much. I meant to bring that up too. I had that poem slam poem. Ever since I want to say my daughter was like probably about the same time I was working on the album, probably like 4 to 6 months old, and I needed to like going back to just bringing your best self forward. When you had asked for submissions, which if anyone is working on something or needs a prompt, I highly recommend you to submit to Great Oblivion, because it not only is such a beautiful platform and community, but it really gave me that little nudge of like, girl, like even though, like I said, even though I'm not able to make all these events, like I'm still putting my art out there, and that's such a beautiful thing to know or not know whose hands it's going to fall in, and not having this crazy, really hard, criteria of like, oh, can't be submitted because you don't got this, or you haven't performed.
Looking for so many followers.
Yeah, like I can't deal with
all that stuff. Yeah,
none of
absolute
that matters.
Trash.
And I really appreciated that submission process, like I said, because I encourage people to submit because it is something that it makes the wheels turn of like, wow, there was a prompt given. And being able to use that prompt and realize that back to we all have similar experiences in life. So having that pain and reflection, we are going to be able to have one piece of art that emulates that. Mm-hmm. Like there's no way that we don't, So I really appreciate that. And I felt really like I had no like urge to not express my gratitude. I was actually at I want to say I was at my brother-in-law Brian's house, or I was somewhere, and I was like, you guys, like I was just like freaking out. I'm like, I'm gonna be great. Like I can't believe it, because it is so beautiful, and to know that it is like one page of someone I may or may not know next to another page of someone I may or may not know is so beautiful. And it's almost like a collage of, putting all of these pieces or puzzle, putting all these pieces together. Yeah. So yeah, it's beautiful. And I really, truly stand behind y'all's mission. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. Like you're able to connect with somebody in the city, like you might not even know. Like, oh, hey, we're both in the latest issue. Like,
so beautiful.
That's cool.
It connects us. And we all have experiences that connect us, but especially with the prompt, it really puts in perspective, wow, the whole I'm not alone. And that being a thing is so important to tell yourself, and being, whether it's just mentally secluding yourself or physically, or for whatever reason can't make it to certain things, having that camaraderie of people that are coming together. Yeah. So beautiful.
Huge.
Hell yeah. It's been fun.
Y'all are doing it.
Yeah, we're excited. I want to do we've talked about doing like a release party for the next one. Yeah. Planning that out would be cool. Just getting everyone together.
Absolutely.
Because we did one. We did, what was that, issue 4?
4 or 5?
I think it was 4.
4?
I don't know.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, we did all the posters.
Yeah.
Four.
Oh, because we have a designer. Yeah. I'm like, I love that. Oh, that's even like so cool. You guys are able to like utilize tapping into your creative side. I love that.
We've said it so many times, like everybody in our group does like a little specific one thing. If we all got those little things together, like we could make something. Like, okay, let's see what that does. Like, see what that looks
that's
like.
Its own band.
Yeah, like, right, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Creative. Yeah, I like that.
And I think that you guys are doing it the right way too, with allowing all forms of art to be expressed is also such a great opportunity, because sometimes, like myself, you don't know forms like slam poetry that could change your life. So
someone sees that one, like, oh, okay, I never thought I'd read this. I never really knew how to get into this, and here it is.
Didn't know it was out there. Yeah.
Cool. Think about it that way.
Hopefully it inspires people to do stuff themselves.
Yes.
Go create. Like get that out of you. Let you express yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, I think everybody is creative. Everybody can be, and it doesn't suck, but like I've gotten to a point where people are like, "Oh, I can't draw. I can't make music." Like, if you just tried and just made noise and just let yourself, like, you might find something.
I have 2 examples. You guys are like, "Okay, we got it." Just stop
No,
talking.
yeah.
So I have 2 examples for that, and that have helped me. And my daughter Delilah, she is at this age where her brain is like constantly growing, but it's also so grounded. So she will ask me, oh, can you draw Bluey? And I'm like, sure. And why do I feel inclined to say that? Because she is, for one, no judgment. And for two, she encourages me. So after I draw the most busted looking version of Bluey,
circle, leg,
she's saying, Mama, it's beautiful. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So that's what it is. I think we're so hard on ourselves. We set ourselves with like these limits. And back to that, it's like, you know, she has this little like fake cute coconut ukulele, right? And when we first got it, I was like, oh, I can't wait to tune this for her. It's going to be so cute, you know. Regardless, it's still a really cute toy, but it can't be tuned. Yeah. They're not real strings. So she'll ask me to sing these little songs that she loves, or she will sing on there.
Oh, cool.
And even like my husband was like, oh, that is not that good. And I'm like still trying to sing to her like with whatever. And anyways, it's just so beautiful to like, for one, have her acceptance and know like, hey, you're trying well. She has not made a face yet of like the because even a real ukulele, I can't really play very well at all. But we have fun, and I feel like it's supposed to be revolved around fun. Coloring with crayons and doing things. Looking back at your even if it was your yesterday self, that's still your younger self, and have more grace. Give yourself more grace and allow yourself to flourish, even in areas that you just want to consider just a hobby. Yeah. Like, let's say you don't want to be the most professional color theory artist ever. I still have so much fun, like doing these little things that even when she, like I said, asked for me to do these things I know that I'm not good at, but are so fun. I'm like, why am I giving myself a hard time? She's gonna look back at this and laugh, you know, her butt off. So
this is my favorite picture. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
And a tattoo.
Yeah.
Oh no. But yeah, so I hope that it's very just very passionately expressed in every element of art to just have fun. Like you don't need to take everything so serious, and don't build yourself these limits and these extra boundaries that don't need to be built.
Half times they're not even there. It's just in your head. And then I'm just like, ugh, okay, I got it now. Like,
yeah.
And, man, it's nuts.
And just giving yourself props for little things you can do.
Yeah.
You know, start with that. I realized recently that I can write words upside down.
Oh, cool.
And it's not anything that I ever thought I could do. Never tried it. Never had interest in it. And my daughter's amazed by it. So I'm like, go off, Demi. I'm doing it. You know, it's just, you could give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You can do. But I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
I do.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for submitting and helping build the community. Like, it's those little steps, and we'll see where it goes. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'm cheering you guys on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then this too, coming on the podcast, like having these conversations, I think is also going to be like a pretty driving force in all of this.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to see, like, connect with a piece of art, like just in a 2-dimensional kind of thing, but talking it out and like hearing people's ideas and the reasoning behind everything definitely helps.
Like, you know what? I connect with that. I'm gonna try it. Like, yeah.
Thank you. I feel that way. I feel like it was a priority and a privilege to be on here because there's so much behind the scenes work, like we were talking about earlier, that really it needs to be expanded on sometimes. You know, people need to know that there's a lot behind these pieces of art. So I stand behind that being an important driving force to allow others to express themselves too.
Cool. So what's next? What do you got coming up?
Ooh, I do have some songs I'm really, really wanting to release soon. I try to not, like I said, overthink game plans with too harshly, but I do have some songs. And then I also hopefully want to do maybe a month. Maybe a day out of each month or every other month where maybe I can try to help do like a combined mission to help, whether it's coffee shops or small businesses, get a little bit more business and also have that be like a safe drop-off station. Because that is one question that I get asked a good amount is people are like, how can I donate the gently used clothes? And as much as I wish that I could have like, you know, very convenient like drop-off station or something, right now I don't. But I think it would be a lot of fun to be able to hopefully do some type of incentive where maybe when you donate, I don't know, maybe more or less around like 10 pieces of gently used clothing. Maybe at like a coffee shop, I can buy you coffee or something.
yeah,
you
definitely.
know, like I think it's really cool to feel how important it is to support small businesses. And as a small business, I know that we got to work together. Like there's just no way that, you know, we could be sustainable if we're not working together. So I really hope to do that. More info on that coming soon. And yeah, I also, I guess because I'm on that subject of donations, I am finding that unisex/men's clothing is really hard. And I found out why it is hard to get donation-wise. And it's because I think there's a little bit more internally, is a little bit more peer pressure for us girls to be like, ooh, new trend, buy clothes, buy clothes. And I love how even my husband, he has like 3 shirts like just recently that he gave to me. And he's like, here you go. I got this like, and very gently used, but he's like, you know, I've had this for like 10 years, like super gently used. I've worn it a couple times, but you know, and I think there's so much beauty behind how minimal sometimes. And I'm the same way. If I'm really like noticing there's a piece in my closet I'm not utilizing and someone else can utilize it more, I'm like, it's out. But in the best way, I feel like that may be the reason. But it's also kind of a downfall of I want to be able to offer anyone a mystery box. Yeah. So hopefully if I can get like unisex and men's clothing, that's like the biggest ones. And hopefully that can kind of help with working with a business to do that.
Cool.
So hopefully.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I think there'd be someone out there who would be open to that. Like,
yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Thank you.
They could be listening right now.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Push that like button. No, I'm just kidding.
So where do you want people to find you? Go to on Instagram, your multiple accounts, or is like, do you want to focus on the shop account mostly?
I think it would be great if you want to go to like my main, because I do have that little link tree there, so you can find all the other links for my YouTube and stuff there. So it's all lowercase, so it's DEE.DEMI, on Instagram. That's right now, again, back with like just trying to stay focused. I really do right now make that my priority with checking that first. So that's always the quickest way to get a hold of me social media wise. But I am like on Facebook, and I have my the Me at the Instagram there. But all the links are on the link tree.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. Cool. Hell yeah. Anything else you want to throw in?
I just want to say shout out to everyone who's watching. You are a great asset and just fuel to this mission that Great Oblivion is not only starting, but I've seen the behind the scenes, and they put so much love. They put so much love into it. So just really following them, keep your eyes and ears out for what's to come, because they're doing it. But they definitely need the support. So if you guys can do that, that would be great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. It was
Thank
fun.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Episode 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Yeah, episode 2. No pressure, first guest, but yeah, if anything, there's going to be so much more that they're going to bring. So if you aren't content with me, don't worry.
I'm hyped
Come
now.
back to the next episode.
Like, what are we doing
next?
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see it. I'm going to be watching all episodes.
Cool.
All right. I still know how to sign out.
Yeah, right.
Bye.
Bye.